Here we go again. Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, January 5th, 2010. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Go there and have a news feast. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A federal appeals court has upheld a lengthy prison sentence for a man convicted of sexually abusing a child on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. A federal jury in Wyoming found Travis McGill guilty of 6 counts of aggravated sexual abuse of a child under the age of 12 and 1 count of possession of child pornography. U.S. District Judge William F. Downes of Casper in 2008 sentenced McGill to serve 46 and a half years in prison. A 3-judge panel of the U.S. 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Denver upheld McGill's prison sentence this week and noted that Downes could have been sentenced to serve life in prison and ruled that any further challenge to his sentence would be frivolous. Federal officials this week agreed to a request by 2 tribes for special protection for Nantucket Sound, a move that could delay construction of a proposed wind farm off of Cape Cod. The National Park Service said the sound is eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places as a significant traditional, cultural, historic, and archaeological property. The Mashpee and Aquinnah Wampanoag tribes say the designation, which would come with new regulations for activity on the Sound, is needed to preserve the tribe's sacred rituals. The Wampanoag, the tribe that welcomed the Pilgrims in the 17th century, is known as the people of the first light, practice sacred rituals requiring an unblocked view of the sunrise. That view wouldn't exist if the Cape Wind project's 130 turbines, each over 400 feet tall, are built several miles from the Cape Cod shore across a 25-square swath of federal waters. The turbines would be visible to the Wampanoag in Mashpee and on Martha's Vineyard on the island. The tribes also say their ancestors' remains are buried on Horseshoe Shoal, where the turbines would be built. The designation could add months to the approval process by forcing developers to comply with the designation's standards. The decision is the latest twist in a long, bitter public fight over plans to build the wind project. For most people, describing themselves on the U.S. Census form will be as easy as checking a box, white, black, or American Indian, but it's not so simple for indigenous immigrants. The Native Americans of Mexico and Central America, they often need more than one box because their ancestry can cover multiple census categories, and they must also overcome a significant language barrier and a great mistrust of the government. The Census Bureau wants to change that in the 2010 count as it tallies immigrant indigenous groups for the first time ever, hoping to get a more complete snapshot of a growing segment of the immigrant population. In the 2010 census, the Bureau will tabulate handwritten entries specifying that the respondent belongs to a Central American indigenous group such as the Maya, the Nehu, the Mixtec, or the Perpetua. The list of different populations that end up being counted will be made public when results are released in 2011, said Michelle Lowe, spokesperson for the Census Bureau. The native village of Icicle in Alaska has announced that property on Prince William Sound's Mummy Island was donated to the village on December 7th by Eco Trust, a nonprofit group based in Portland, Oregon, whose mission is to inspire fresh thinking that creates economic opportunity, social equity, and environmental well-being. In a special session with the Eyak Tribal Council, Eco Trust Craig Jacobson, Vice President of Community Ecosystem Services, and Erica Valentine, Director of the Copper River Program, presented the property title to Village President Robert Hendricks and Executive Director Bruce Kane. This property exchange culminates 7 years of Eco Trust and Eyak partnership in various projects. The Mummy Island property is of ancient significance to the Chugach people. It was at various times home to the Shallow Water people, a burial site, and a clam cannery. Picture some weathered trees overhang a beach strewn with barnacle-covered rocks and clam shells. The day after EcoTrust's presentation of the Mummy Island property title, a small group of Eoc Village staff and tribal members made their way across the winter waters to the property to check out the property there. One of the person there said they felt like their presence was very comfortable. It was very beautiful. The Eoc Village plans to culturally preserve the property and use it to create a spiritual camp. The Museum of Contemporary Native Arts is pleased to announce that Ryan Rice, a Mohawk, has been promoted to Chief Curator. Rice began at the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts in September as Curator of Exhibitions and Programs. Rice, who is from Ganawagi, Quebec, has worked for the past 13 years as an educator, intern, technician, and curator at various centers, including the Iroquois Indian Museum, Canadian Museum of Civilization, Indian Art Gallery, Carleton University Art Gallery, and the Walter Phillips Art Gallery. Rice is also the co-founder and chair of the Aboriginal Curatorial Collective, which can be found at aboriginalcuratorialcollective.org. Rice holds a Master of Arts degree in Curatorial Studies from the Center for Curatorial Studies at Bard College, Annandale-on-Hudson, New York, and a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Concordia University in Montreal, Quebec, and an Associates of Fine Arts degree from the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. For more information about the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts, a center of the Institute of American Indian Arts, you can go to iaiamuseum.org. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to thank you all for joining with us today. Come back again soon. Miigwech.